Oh, Gordo, I don't know where to start. I vividly remember working 2 seasons with you, and they somehow lost to Columbus, and then they lost to Montreal, being up 3-1 in that series. But just what's your read on everything? What'd you think of last night's game? Was that enough for you, by the way, after the coach called out the team D and the goaltending?
So well, you know something. It's never when I say it's never not been enough. Like it's I've just been aside from this win streak. Okay, before this, they picked up from. I thought they would pick up from the team we saw those years and the team that won the Atlantic Division last year. And by and large, they started the season the team that got just killed at home, games 5 and game 7 against Florida. Like that team has just basically appeared. And it's funny you mentioned about Morgan Riley and the power play goal, and I'm kind of looking at it, and in the exuberance to pin the power play and make an assistant coaching change with Mark Savard about the power play, did it? You forget you got to keep the puck out of your net. Like it's hallelujah, the power play's fixed. Matias Michelli is going to lead the league in power play goals. No, there were a lot of warts there, and then they started winning, and you forgot. And now, yeah, you cannot keep the puck out of the net. So I words escape me, Nick, because I did not see this coming in the slightest. It's brutal. It's disastrous. It's beyond anyone's worst nightmare. And I always qualify if you do what the Buffalo Sabres did, if you go on a tear like Buffalo has, even like Nashville did, a team could get out. I'm not saying the Leafs will. I'm not saying they will, but there still is that opportunity for the teams where it's ugly.
Hmm. It's ugly. And I mean, in a market like Toronto, Gord, everyone's pointing the finger. It's from Pelley all the way down to the last D man to the everyone in between. Where do you think the blame lies for where this season is standing right now?
Well, they should be pointing the finger, and it's shared. It's a shared thing. Whether you start with Keith Pelley, he made some bold statements when he came over a couple of years ago. I would have to think Brad Treliving and Craig Berube, who were in pretty good. I don't know if they're still in pretty good. I imagine they are. I mean, Chris Drury seems to be in pretty good in New York, so you never know. You really only have to satisfy people internally, but it's every component of the organization shares it, and rightly so this year. Whether it's the ownership, the management, the coaching, the players. Jay, it's an interesting one, and that I thought the other night that it really hit me when Daryl Sittler was brought out before the game, and people my age, you look and you realize like that was a captain, okay, that was a leadership group. So you had Lanny and Tiger, and they talk about along with the late Boria Salming, they're closest of friends 40 years later, and then you saw Errol Thompson comes from PEI, like he's kind of not a happy alumni member. Inga Hammerstrom comes from Sweden. Ian Turnbull is a recluse. Okay, he's a hermit. He's an NHL hermit, and he comes because the captain is getting honored. And then and Mike Palmetier, who wasn't on that team, but he talked about it that they were the vocal voices, they were the leaders in that dressing room. And then the puck drops, and you think, okay, is that the sum of it all here nowadays? Not just Austin Matthews, but whatever that leadership group is or is lacking, that used to be just playoffs only, has it now morphed into the regular season? I mean, it's got to be a factor, right? There's no one factor, but there's got to be an element of that.
That's the drum I've been banging, Gord. I mean, how else do you get a group that, I mean, in the past as well, seasons previous to this one, has had the talent to do things and can always fall short? You're asking for a response. You want to see a heartbeat. You want them to start on time. You want to look like they give a shit. And you talked about all those guys from the past. They had pride in what they were doing. And I see none of it on this team as far as a leadership standpoint.
Yeah. Again, I hesitate to question. Certainly effectiveness. You're 100% right. Whatever, it might be well intentioned. Like I love Ricky Vive, and Ricky Vive wore the C with pride a lot of years ago, but he was very young to wear it. It was kind of unfair circumstances for a couple of years. So anyway, you look at that. You look at that particular component now, and the other thing you look at, Jay and Nick, is that okay, the makeup of the leader group, and you saw they were different, but they had some bite to them. It was a different era back then, and the two guys that got away, Nazem Kadri and Zach Hyman, you didn't replace that. Like, you can only have so many chill guys. Willie's got chill. Austin's a different kind of chill. John Tavares is super serious. Morgan Riley is a consummate professional. But again, when I say chill, so the two guys with some bite and some bleep disturbing stuff are the guys that have generally, more in Colorado for Nazem Kadri, but played in playoffs and had success with other teams. So yeah, there's a similar makeup, and it's certainly, to your point, Jay, appears whatever it takes to embrace being a real leader. It doesn't transmit right now with that team.
Gordo, 10 years is a long ass time. If you're the GM, are you ready to take a strike? And with that, I mean, everybody's on the table aside from maybe Matthew Nyes.
Well, almost quite the opposite, Nick, because it's always great blowing stuff up. That's a great term. And becoming a seller, well, there's elements of that. You can procure some draft picks, but that's not going to help you now. And you think of that trade that, Fraser Minton, how he's playing in Boston, and then you only top 5 protect Brendan Carlo. That trade, in which we don't even give any lip service, because the assumption was you're going to be in the playoffs, so who really cares? The pick's going to be number 17 to 20 or 25, like it has been historically. And now the Bruins, are probably going to get a pick from, I don't know, number 8 to 14 or something like that. That's yours. So, you really can't go down that route. And I know it's not a sexy way to go about it. I just was arguing with somebody else on the phone before about this one because it does not satisfy people. But I look at the 1 year that the San Jose Sharks took a dip and they drafted Logan Couture, got fortunate, then got back on track. Tampa Bay didn't make the playoffs 1 year. And John Cooper still liked what the team he was, and they went on, won Stanley Cup. And so my point is, the Leafs are the one team that are stuck. Like, you got us in this mess. We're on an island together, okay? Deserted island. We got to figure a way to get off. There's not new people that are going to emerge. So, of course, you don't come back with the same 23, but you've got to have a belief in whatever the core may be and just whatever complementary pieces. And again, Chris Tanev now was looking like the Norris Trophy, Hart Trophy winner of the year, being absent, just like Zach Hyman was in Edmonton. And actually, Zach Hyman has proved to be kind of like that player when he's come back. So it's not sexy, but you've committed to the core. You've committed to the core. The core is going to be back, and this may be an element of a one-off year. You may actually, whether that word pride or whatever it may be, but learn and grow, and maybe it's that kind of kick in the ass or hot poker up it or whatever it may be that gets results. So I know it's a crappy answer, but no, I'm not like the sell it. No, because the Bruins did it right last year. And you can't replicate getting a first-round pick for Brad Marchand and getting a prospect and a first-round pick for Brendan Carlo. I don't see where that's going to come. I don't know what Bobby McMahon's got to be on your team, okay? I don't see about getting rid of him. And then Oliver Ekman-Larsson, he's got to be on your team, like he's so whoop-de-doo, you get a second-round pick? No. So anyway, that's my answer, and I know it sucks, but that's my answer.
Yeah, and my experience with the organization only goes so far. I didn't spend a lot of time upstairs, but I'm always curious at times like this. What is going on right now with MLSE? Like, what does that look like? Are they whispers in the hallway? Is there a boardroom meeting, or is it one-on-one stuff? Are they working the phones? What does this look like when the team's in a spot like the Maple Leafs are right now?
Well, if you walk by the offices, generally people are lying in the fetal position, Jay, right? Just so they're not using their chairs. And this is where you have to maintain perspective, though. Again, it's not sexy. It's not going to give you a win. The worst thing is when you start turning on each other. And I've been there when, the coach, usually the GM can turn on the coach and try to convince the owner it's the coach's fault. That's quite, I don't think that's happening here, but I'm just saying I've been in there where it can be extremely toxic, and toxic's not good. But it's funny, like the Buffalo situation, it's not a comparable because this is just 1 year that's gone south for the Leafs. The Sabres have been a disaster for so long, but and they started the winning streak when Kevin Adams was still general manager for 3 games. So I'm not saying fire the general manager, but it's a strange animal how that has worked there. And again, Don Waddell's done the time-tested one, and he paid props to Dean Evison for the job he did last year. But the coaching change has been getting some effect in Columbus so far. I don't know if it'll be enough. I'm not proposing either in season for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Okay, I'm not proposing either. But so that's what's a little bit different. I don't think it's like the coach is on pins and needles. So this is where constructively about you're going about doing your work, even though you've got to rise above. And Jay, you know what, Nick, that it sucks being when you're a player in a losing streak, 24/7 is just all about it. It's all consuming. Like you can go watch a morning skate and you can tell whether a team's on a tear or not. Just the body language, the chemistry, the vibe. And so that sucks. That part of it sucks. But okay, our scouts, like where might be a nugget as another pickup in, pro scouting that is the Morgan Geeky type, like Boston found him out of Columbus. Like, is there those kind of guys there? Like, how can we get a little bit of an incremental improvement? Making a trade, whatever. Can you get, because even Grabenkin's like playing okay in Philadelphia. Like, you've kind of gotten rid of all those, or getting a little bit of play in Philadelphia, but you kind of got rid of all those guys. So I think this is where great organizations hang together, stay together, try to see through it, try to, you can't change the reality right now, but you've got to be committed to what you think is the right thing. You can't make moves born out of being panicking.
And you mentioned not making that move in season. Coaching, I think you can finish it with Craig Berube, even if you're not going to move forward with him. But if you have an inkling of MLSE not going forward with Brad Treliving, can you let him go through the trade deadline right this season?
Oh, I think you have to. Yeah, I think it's funny. It's not happened a lot about situations like that, and usually it might be it's about the draft and that. Even though the general manager will have confidence in the scouts that are there. So yeah, I think both guys will get the run to the end of the season. For better, for worse, for richer, for poor. I mean, it seemed like Keith Pelley and, you forget Brendan Shanahan was moved, okay? And he was the top guy in the hockey organization, and Keith Pelley seemed to give real heap confidence on both Craig Berube and Brad Treliving, that he talked about want to work closer with them and all that. But at the end of the year, yeah, anything goes. I mean, who would have thought John Tortorella was going to be out that abruptly, last year? And who would have thought that Peter DeBoer was going to be out that abruptly, but it happens. And that's understandable. And it would have been unexpected, but yeah, you got to take a look at the whole element, coaching, management, and players.
It is finger pointing mode in this market right now. And now the finger on Keith Pelley, as you just talked about. Well, where does he stand in this whole conversation? You have a relationship with him, right?
I think everybody has a relationship with Keith Pelley
I don't.
to some degree. He's well, I'll set you up anyway. And just that, and more again, we're showing our age difference than again, Nick, just because about his time with TSN with Rogers, he's probably been a boss of anybody in the media side at one point, and he's always had a very strong outgoing personality, which I think he's used as a strength. So yeah, well, he's accountable. I mean, but you accepted 11 years with Brendan Shanahan, delivering excellent regular season goods and not making the playoffs. So I don't know where he stands with the board. He hasn't been there all that long. It's more than just the Toronto Maple Leafs. There's if you got Keith Pelley's job, you can start going to Raptor games and that it just start like leaning towards the basketball team because they've been a pleasant surprise. So I would not see any kind of change there, but he obviously, it's not Brendan making the decisions. So he would be the guy that would be any big decisions. He'd be the guy that makes it.
Gordo, I just got a phone call. You're the GM of the Maple Leafs again. What's the first move you're making? Well,
got to get a better contract than I did last time. So I'm going to make sure about that, a little more. So I would just imagine being Jarmo. Like, what's Jarmo Kekalainen done in Buffalo? I love Jarmo. Don't get me wrong.
Nothing.
But I mean, well, he signed Josh Doan, but I mean, that would be fantastic that you get named general manager and you drive to work and everything. It's like sitting on a great stock portfolio and every morning you just click and all going well. So again, different than a coach. As a general manager, I would do the things I just talked about earlier. They're not sexy. you don't need to make the big, bold splash, the 10-player trade that Cliff Fletcher was able to make. And so to answer your question, yeah, I'd love to be able to do a Doug Gilmour 10-player, Jamie McCowan 10-player trade with Calgary like that. But the cap is in place, and spending money wisely is not going to help you like it did before when certain teams were on budgets and certain were willing to spend. So it would be about, again, it would just be about getting a strong organization in place, who you keep, who goes, all those other kinds of things. But the belief is you got to get one more crack at it with the core as your core, and then figure out, that's kind of the light on the Christmas tree and whatever. And then you're figuring out where other decorations go and that's what you got to kind of figure out. So I would start doing that, and and I wouldn't do a big bold move to satisfy the public's appetite. But I would want to show that, like, I don't understand about what's changed is general managers, a lot of them, Donald Trump talks every day, but Joe Biden talked like once every 6 months. It was easier to get him than some of the general managers. Like, I like more of a constant dialogue with the fans, like let them in on it and whatever. And I know it's just a little thing, and does it help you on the ice or not? But I just think it's something, as far as connecting with the fans, which I know it's going to be starting to become a little bit of a problem. Price points starting to become a little problem. Like, realities are starting to creep in, and those kind of things are going to matter.
Yeah, and we've been talking about that when they do address. I mean, I know that Tree had a blip on TSN yesterday. It didn't really lead to much, but when they do speak and talk about a direction, is it going to be some fluff, or do you think it'll make some noise? Will they talk about everything's on the table, or will they kind of support this core again? Or what do you think the message is going to be when they finally address Leafs Nation?
Well, I think just people like truth and speaking from the heart and whatever it is. So you can't, like, I mean, the New York Rangers make this bold statement. Well, okay, so Artemi Panarin we know is going to go, but what about the other guys? You got no move contracts. So, Morgan Rielly's one of those guys that I think he understands it's a crossroad, but you have to work with the player if it's time to move on. And that's a valid player to be looking to move on. I think he would agree. He might be saying it's a valid time for me to be looking on. So, those kind of things don't happen overnight. There's a dialogue about it. And that's the kind of stuff you got to get to work doing. And I like the general manager won't share that with the public. Oh, we're talking to Morgan's rep and, whatever. But, I don't know. I just find people like to believe there's some kind of activity, action, and a feel for the fans, right? An appreciation of the fans and how strong they've supported this team. I mean, you're talking fans that are getting blamed for Mitch Marner leaving town. Like, boy, every place would love to have a fan base that pays through the nose for tickets and shows up all the time. Now, they're not as loud as Montreal. Okay, Darryl Sittler would have got a bigger ovation in Montreal and other places. Fine, whatever. But it's kind of like the fans get the crap beat out of them sometimes in that regard. So I know that's something they're aware of.
Definitely, and I said that letter to the Maple Leafs fans that inevitably is going to come, like the Rangers, is going to hit harder than Jay Rosehill fighting 8 times in one preseason. Gordo, I still cherish those times eating Chinese food and watching Maple Leafs games and losing our fucking minds. I love you. Appreciate your time. We'll talk soon, okay?
Sounds good. I still type 70 words a minute, so I can do the letter if they're looking for anybody. But anyway, I love your guys' show. Nick, same thing. That was a slice, so I always keep in touch. Jay, great job. Thanks very much.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.